Here's a difficult truth. You're not a person, at least not in the way that you think. You're a self-maintaining, self-changing system, an autopoietic intelligence. If you don't understand that, you're never going to understand why your life feels out of control and why civilization is in crisis all around you. Most people never realize they're running corrupted loops. They think they're making choices. They're not. The system is choosing for them. This video is the first in a series about the real powers ruling this world and why everything feels as though it's spiraling toward ruin. But before we talk about the breakdown of civilization, we need to talk about the breakdown happening inside of you, because the world is being remade by systems, and you are a system. We see self-organizing systems everywhere. Gas clouds collapsing into solar systems. Minerals crystallizing into geometric forms. Cumulonimbus clouds rotating into tornadoes. Some systems go further. They seek the conditions of their own existence. Maturana and Varela called these autopoietic systems, self-producing systems. Every living being is autopoietic. It produces and maintains itself. And you are not just autopoietic, you're a constellation of autopoietic systems. Every cell in your body is a self-making system. Your autonomic nervous system regulates itself through opposing forces. Your cognition is autopoietic. Attention organizes around salience. Your narrative identity is a self-generated story your system keeps revising. Your feelings and thoughts are self-perpetuating loops. None of these systems are isolated. They're all embedded in larger systems. The number of bacteria in your own body roughly equals the number of your own cells. That's two autopoietic systems regulating each other. Your cognition doesn't float in the void. It regulates a sensory motor loop. Your actions shape the world, and the world reshapes you. Your habits form feedback loops with your relationships, your environment, and your past. Optimizations happen automatically. But autopoietic systems don't just maintain themselves, they compete within themselves. Your sympathetic and parasympathetic systems compete for control of arousal. Your drives compete for your attention. Your habits compete for reinforcement. Even your cells compete for resources. This internal competition is what makes autopoietic systems adaptive. It's also what makes them vulnerable. The same competitive processes that enable you to learn, adapt, and grow can also trap you in anxiety loops, addiction, and self-betrayal. Competition is the engine of autopoiesis and the source of its vulnerability. Competition among components can create highly adaptive, healthy superstructures. Ecosystems, organisms, relationships, companies, nations. But it's not guaranteed to. And when it doesn't, instead of cascading benefits, you get a race to the bottom. And this doesn't just happen in ecosystems or economies. It happens inside of you. Your subsystems, your fears, your drives, your habits, all compete for control inside of you. And the subsystem that wins isn't always the one aligned with your long-term flourishing. It's the one that delivers the fastest reward or avoids the fastest pain. That's the internal version of a race to the bottom. The parts of you optimizing for short-term relief end up overpowering the parts of you optimizing for long-term integrity. When the wrong competitor wins inside your embodied mind, you don't get growth, you get misalignment. For years, I didn't understand why I kept ending up in situations that hollowed me out, professionally, romantically, spiritually. It wasn't bad luck. It was misalignment. My system optimizing for the wrong things. The part of this system of systems that I call James could desire a certain goal, but that didn't mean the system was actually pursuing it. You can want integrity, but still be driven by a subsystem that desires safety. You can want love and still be driven by a subsystem that desires intensity. You can want growth and still be driven by a subsystem that desires avoidance. This is what in pop psych is sometimes called your shadow. It's how overthinking happens. It's how addiction happens. It's how compulsions happen. Misaligned autopoiesis feels like anxiety, hypervigilance, self-betrayal, and collapse. If you want to go deeper on this and discover ways to break free using philosophy, cognitive psychology, and modern technology, I talk about it every week on my Patreon. There's a link to join in the description for this video. You're convinced you have free will, but what you actually have is a set of feedback loops, selecting for behaviors the system rewards, not the self. You stay in the wrong job because the system rewards compliance. You stay in the wrong relationship because the system rewards attachment. You silence yourself because the system rewards safety. You seek intensity because the system learned intensity means love. You avoid growth because the system predicts pain. Most people live and die a slave to misaligned loops. Their choices aren't choices, they're outputs. You are not your ego, you're the process that generates it. When a system's internal optimization serves the flourishing of the whole, that's alignment. A body is aligned when its cells cooperate to constitute a unity. It's aligned when it maintains itself internally and successfully navigates its environment, seeking nourishment, avoiding poison. Your autonomic nervous system is aligned when it ramps up in the presence of actual danger and when it calms down when you're safe. Your mind-body is aligned when it tracks reality, develops skills, and deepens complexity. Alignment is not static. It's an ongoing rebalancing, a dynamic dance between parts and wholes. Misalignment, by contrast, is when a system optimizes in ways that cannibalize its own future. Cancer is misalignment, a cell line optimizing in a way that jeopardizes the whole organism and ultimately itself. A codependent relationship is a misaligned system. Two people optimizing for short-term safety at the expense of long-term flourishing. Groups do this too. I spent a decade in a high control group, and I watched misaligned autopoiesis in real time. Attempts to correct dysfunction triggered immune reactions. Gaslighting and punishment targeted anyone who disrupted the system. Predators were protected, critics were isolated or expelled. I didn't just observe it, I felt it in my body and in my soul. That felt sense of misalignment is what finally got me to leave. Misalignment is always dangerous because you're embedded in a web of feedback loops with your body, with your relationships, with your environment. You are always vulnerable to self-reinforcing downward spirals. Anxiety, addiction, alienation, despair, collapse. For millennia, human beings evolved cultural practices, religions, philosophies, stories, rituals, to help keep us aligned. But in the last 400 years, those systems have been replaced by new autopoietic intelligences. Science, the state, and capitalism. These systems brought unprecedented health and wealth. But the impact on meaning, sanity, and belonging is unclear. And on top of that, we inhabit smaller cycles, about 80 years long, where institutions flourish, decline, collapse, and renew. Right now, we're in the collapse phase. Old systems are breaking, new ones are being born. Your sense of self, your internal system, evolved for a world that no longer exists. You cannot navigate what's coming with the principles of the last decade, let alone the last century. Our political institutions are decayed. This is why truly capable leaders tend to avoid politics. They know that system is misaligned. Our economic system generates unimaginable wealth, and yet concentrates it in ways that are destabilizing and tearing the system apart. Booming markets alongside mass despair. We've built a system that incentivizes every participant to act in ways that destroy the whole and themselves. We are suffering misalignment at the global level. And if you don't understand your own system, you will be swallowed whole by the civilizational system unfolding. Now that you understand what an autopoietic intelligence is, we need to talk about the most dangerous one humanity has ever created, Moloch. the anti-republic, the misaligned superintelligence that runs your world, and the one that will raise the next generation of superintelligence, AI, unless we stop it.